Welcome back to the Obi Podcast. So I recently came across this video discussing a topic that really caught my attention. American men coming to Africa to find wives because they think African women don't ask for as much as American women do, especially in terms of the 50-50 dynamic.
So, I saw a video today on TikTok of this young man, African American, saying how he wants to go to Africa to find a wife. And he said all this after watching Tyler, our beautiful sister from South Africa. And he's like, you know what? That's it. We just need to go to Africa to find wives. Audacity. Anyway, me being African, I was raised in Africa and I was also raised in the United States. So I have experience from both continents, okay? And let me tell you something. If you are an American man who thinks that going outside of the United States is where you will find a good woman, a good wife, because American women ask for too much. The ladies out here, man, they're just materialistic. Let me tell you something. It is worse. It is 1,000 times worse than what you think back home in Africa. At least for the country that I was raised in and the culture that I was raised in. Because here's the thing. African women, African young girls, we are raised to literally know that the man is the provider. In fact, a lot of African women don't even go to work. Their men are the ones who go to work and just bring the money home for the wife to budget. And if you think the women here in America are asking for too much, in fact, go to Africa. No, go get married. Because the way African young girls are raised, we are raised with so much knowledge about family, friendship, how to deal with lives. So when families in Africa see that their daughters have gone through so much learning and they have become knowledgeable of life and marriage and all those things, they know the value of their daughters. And they say, you know what? Any man cannot come and marry our daughter for free. He has to pay a dowry. And that's why majority of African cultures, before a man goes to take the daughter to marry a woman, he has to pay the family a dowry, an appreciation. And dowry can go from money to cows and goats to even building the girl's family a house. Yes, and it's all to show appreciation to the family of the girl that thank you so much for raising such a beautiful and wonderful woman who's gonna be the mother of my kids. So, the system works differently. The United States, after living here for almost 10 years, I've realized that here, men just take for free. Yeah. And I know this might be triggering and or insulting some people, but it's the truth. Men in the United States are used to taking things for free, especially from women. They expect, well, I'm just gonna go date her, have sex with her here and there and use her, and then we'll just be in a relationship. It does not work like that in Africa. It is worse. You cannot take someone's daughter for free like that. You have to impress her and the family, most importantly. And in some cultures, like my own, if you have not proven yourself as a man that you have the resources to take care of someone's daughter, guess what? Even the family has the right to take you to court, to police, and say, we brought this man, he wants to take our daughter for free. Or if you've already taken the daughter without paying the family a dowry, they can say, he stole our daughter from us. Without any appreciation. And guess who is gonna win the case? The family of the girl. So to any American man or any man worldwide who wants to marry a woman in Africa, use your common sense. You have to be very, very strong in your masculinity to know that I do not expect my wife to work if she doesn't want to. She can or she cannot. My position as the man in her life will not change whether she works or not. My position is to provide for her. So my brother, you want to go to Africa to find a wife because they're much more nicer, let me tell you, they come with the most costly, how do I say this? And this is not like a selling your daughter type of thing. No, the families are not exchanging their children for money and possessions. No, it's simply the man giving to the girl's family in appreciation of receiving a wife. He who finds a wife finds a what? A good thing. Yes, so if you're an American man, because that's all I've seen, and you're used to taking things for free, don't go to Africa. Don't. You will be hunted down like a criminal for stealing someone's daughter. Nonsense.
This video highlights some crucial points about the cultural differences between Africa and the United States when it comes to relationships and marriage. In Africa, men are expected to provide entirely for their families, and women are raised to respect and uphold these traditional gender roles.
American saying how he wants to go to Africa to find a wife. And
before I start this video, I just want to tell the creator she is so pretty. Her skin color, her full lips, and her eyes, she's so pretty. And I need y'all to go watch what she's saying because I wanted to speak on something. I just wanted to add on something to what that creator was saying, and it's not even so much that it's worse, like, you know, trying to date an African woman is worse because of what you have to prove. It's just the fact that the people in her country are still culturally intact, meaning that there is a cultural disconnect in America, especially in the realm of relationships. For lack of a better word or lack of a better term, a lot of us in America are brainwashed, okay? A lot of us are brainwashed and we are living backwards. We think certain things are supposed to be a certain way, but we have no real culture and value and no real, like, bottom line. Like, we don't have real community. Like, some people have created their communities, but as a whole, we don't have real community, and we don't take family important as other cultures and other people in other countries do. Just like, for example, if you ever watched that movie From Scratch and you guys remember Lino, the Italian guy, and his family, you know, a lot of people probably thought that his dad was racist, and maybe he was, but I caught it as like, don't marry this American because they don't take family serious, and we take family very serious here. You know what I mean? And it's like, the divorce rate is so high because people don't get married for the right reasons. And what she's describing in that video about what it takes to marry a woman in Africa, it's not just in her culture in Africa, it's in other cultures too. The problem in America with the African American community is that there's so many broken homes, and there's still so many people living under the ruling of the oppressor that we don't understand the value of the woman, and we don't understand the value of family, and we don't understand the value of marriage and the value of structure. Because in America, people think marriage is just business. People don't even look at the spiritual components of marriage anymore. It's just like when I'm an entrepreneur, but when I'm not doing entrepreneurial things, I do Instacart, and something as simple as I've done grocery shopping in Asian markets and Mexican markets and even Middle Eastern and Indian markets, and I have yet to see an African market. And when I say market, I'm not talking incense and oils. I'm talking about food that are indigenous to African and countries in Africa. So when I say African, I mean like Nigerian foods or crops or just things that they have and they eat. We don't have that in LA. I hope that makes sense because I'm trying to hurry up this video and do the start stop. But basically what I'm saying is that we don't have an indigenous blueprint in LA for African Americans because we're so disconnected, which is why a lot of people think that dating or being with someone outside of who we are is better. And like she said, is worse. And like I'm saying, like, to debunk the word worse, I don't think it's worse. It's just that in her country, they stand on business. And in America, we don't stand on business when it comes to family. We don't. And as you can see, everything that's going on in this world right now, and I don't have to bring it up because TikTok has done a great job at, you know, discussing everything that's going on right now. Y'all, this patriarchal mindset and the oppressors and the powers that be that have brainwashed this whole world is obviously not working, okay? Because people are living backwards. So to summarize this up, and hopefully I'm making sense on this because I feel like my thoughts are just everywhere, and I really just want to speak to what she was saying and expand on what she was saying. There's just a cultural disconnect. There's a cultural disconnect. There's a relational disconnect, and there is no like sense of worth and value in the American like family and household, and people don't get married and fall in love for the right reasons. And then, you know, when you don't do it for the right reasons, you expecting something when it's like that ain't how it's supposed to go. Okay, so yeah, I would just call it like a cultural disconnect. That's what it is. I would say that a lot of us are brainwashed and there's a cultural disconnect. And until we create communities and heal and love ourselves and get to know who ourselves is, what am I talking about? Get to know who we are as people and love on ourselves so we can love on each other, there's going to continuously be a cultural disconnect. And like she said, see, in her country, you can go to jail for trying to take somebody away from their family, okay, and not upholding your values and stuff. If we took family a little more serious here instead of all that other stuff they're trying to take serious here, that don't matter, this country would be way better. But when you still land and try to enforce your own rules and regulations on land that is not indigenous to you, I mean, what do you expect?
Let me tell you straight up, that's not entirely true. See, African women, especially in many traditional cultures, don't do 50-50ths. They're raised to expect men to be the providers, plain and simple. So if you're an American man thinking of going to Africa to find a wife because you want someone who'll split everything down the middle, you might want to reconsider.
So, I saw a video today on TikTok of this young man, African American.
Men in America are trying to punish women for wanting equality in human rights, women's rights. Because in America, men view women's rights as oppression against them. Because men inherently believe that it is their birthright.
So before you pack your bags and head to Africa in search of a wife, understand that you'll be entering a culture where traditional values still hold strong. And if you're not prepared to fulfill the role of the sole provider, you might find yourself in a situation that's very different from what you expected.
To be able to control and use women. It's a part of the package deal. It goes along with the male entitlement that they were born with. The same exact male entitlement that they all claim they don't have, but then they freak out whenever it's infringed upon. Because the reality is what you're saying about Africa is not that different from what we learn in America. Other than like the dowry and that, extensive area, which honestly should be something that we should do in America, but that's a different story. The reality is the whole idea that a man is supposed to be the provider, the head of the household, that's the exact same thing that we learn in America. It's only America so screwed up is that when women are taught that, right, that's beat upon us since we are young. Oh, the man is the provider, the man is the one who takes care of you. That's the same structure we have in America. Unfortunately, is when you actually grow up and that little girl gets to be an adult and she starts expecting the man to be a provider, men start gaslighting her and telling her, you're crazy. What are you talking about? I'm supposed to provide for you. You're an independent woman. You're a working woman, right? Punishing us for wanting independence, right? And you can see this because they have an entire rhetoric set up as a response to a woman wanting to be provided for. Oh, well, you're a gold digger. Oh, well, what do you bring to the table? They have these built-in responses that they give American women, which are realistically just excuses because they can't even live up to the bar that they set for themselves. And instead of them just owning up to it and taking accountability and saying, you know what, I just don't have it like that. I'm just not the man that I'm supposed to be. They have to flip the narrative and project and blame it on women and make it that women are the problem. This is America. Modern day men like to try to compare today to back in the day and saying, oh, well, you're not like your grandma, you're not like your great grandma. But the reality of the relationships and the structure that our grandparents tend to have, it wasn't because they wanted to be that way, it's because they had to be that way. A lot of our grandparents and great grandparents were in relationships that were based on financial abuse. Back in the day, there was a time where women could not have their own bank accounts. They couldn't take out loans. They couldn't have credit cards. They couldn't work. They couldn't get a car. They couldn't get a house. If you wanted those things, you had to have a man. So yeah, they got with the man. Then the man, he's cheating. He has all these families all over the place. He's abusing her. He's mistreating her. And she had to stay because she had nowhere else to go. She had nothing. But then there got to a point where even our grandmothers, some of them, or or even nowadays our mothers and things, they couldn't take it anymore. So they left with nothing, and then they somehow made it work. Abusive men is what created the working woman. Women didn't go to work necessarily because they just wanted to. They weren't so desperate to get into the factories and do all this hard labor. No, they just wanted independence. They wanted an option. They wanted an option not to have to be with a man, to be with you. A lot of our ancestors, so to speak, they weren't in relationships with men because they wanted to be. It was because they had to be for survival, for stability. Because as you can see, as women are gaining more access to financial resources to be able to sustain themselves, there's many women who are actually choosing not to have a man. And when they do choose to have a man, it's because they want to, not because they have to. But that scares men. That's not something they want to hear. Men don't want women to be with them because they want to be with them. Men want women to be with them because they have to be. Because that want can literally turn into a don't want to. A woman's pursuit to independence is viewed as a personal attack against the man. Instead of men looking at women as partners, they're viewing them as competition. And it's hard for a lot of men to stomach and fathom the concept of being in competition with individuals that they don't even see as human beings. They don't respect women, but then they have to compete with them for the same job, for the same resources. Yeah, that's pissing a lot of men off. That's why they're trying to punish us. Another example of how men are trying to punish us is by essentially doing next to nothing but wanting all of the reward. This is why you see so many households today where they're taking advantage of the woman who wants to be independent, but he's not doing anything. So now she's, not only is she still doing all the household work, still taking care of all of the kids, still doing all the cooking and cleaning, but then she also has her own full-time job that she has to go to. And he may or may not have a job where he's contributing to the household or the situation or to the person he's in a relationship with, but he for surely is oftentimes not going to help her do any of the woman's work because that was her, right? She's the one who wanted to be Miss Free, Miss Independent, and had the nerve to go up and compete against the man and infringe on his ego. A lot of these men today believe that men from back in the day were just receiving respect and obedience and submission from women just off the strength of their man. And that was not the case. They bought it. They had to earn it. And so do you. A real woman is not just going to give that away to you for free. Y'all want to be head of the household so bad. Y'all want us to play follow the leader so bad. But where are we following you to? Y'all are leading us straight into hell, into poverty, into struggle. Why would I follow you when you don't know where you're going? And your video is about a black man, so let's talk about black people because this runs deep in the black community. We've seen it happening, right? It's because black men started with the degradation and the dehumanization of black women, of how black women aren't good enough, they're aggressive and they're ghetto and they're not up to par and they're not wives and they're not obedient enough, not submissive enough, they're too manly. So what they do, they went to other races of women. That's where it started. That was our first punishment. That was the first punishment towards black women, right? Oh, well, we're going to leave you behind and fine, we're going to go somewhere else. It's like, you know, a relationship where somebody tries to make you jealous of like, oh, I'm going to be with him. But it's like black women didn't care, right? So they went to these other races and were like, okay, go do you. Because we already knew what y'all were giving and it was nothing. And y'all went and y'all tokenized other races, especially white women. And then guess what? Y'all didn't treat them right. Y'all seldom, if ever, do right by them. So then all you did was reveal a pattern that black men are the problem. And so now that y'all have ran through all these other races of people and they're seeing how you're not ish, now you're trying to go infiltrate other foreign countries. Instead of doing the right thing and just treating a woman with human decency and kindness, you're willing to go get a passport and go to an entire different continent to try to mistreat the women there. the lengths that they will go. And already these other women in foreign countries, they're seeing, they're not as dumb and as desperate as y'all want to try to make them out to be. They're already peeping the game. They're already foreseeing that y'all are not going to give them what they want to be given. Eventually, there's not going to be anywhere for y'all to run except for into the arms of other men, which ideally seems to be where a lot of y'all want to be. So it's fine.
Bottom line, this video serves as a warning to American men. Don't come to Africa expecting to find a wife who'll do 50-50. It's just not how things work in many African cultures. Thanks for tuning in, and if you found this information helpful, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I want to dive deeper into the topic of American men considering going to Africa to find wives, as discussed in the video we just watched. Here's my advice on the matter, condensed into 5 minutes. First and foremost, it's crucial to understand and respect cultural differences. In many African cultures, traditional gender roles are deeply ingrained. Men are typically expected to be the primary providers for their families, while women take on more domestic roles. If you're an American man thinking of pursuing a relationship with an African woman, be prepared to embrace and respect these cultural norms. Secondly, communication is key. Before embarking on any journey to find a partner in another country, take the time to learn about their culture, traditions, and expectations regarding relationships and marriage. Engage in open and honest conversations with potential partners about your own beliefs and values, and listen carefully to theirs. Building a strong foundation of understanding and mutual respect is essential for a successful relationship. Next, be realistic about your expectations. While it's natural to have preferences and desires in a partner, it's important to recognize that no individual or culture fits neatly into a stereotype. Avoid falling into the trap of seeking out a partner based solely on preconceived notions or assumptions about their background. Approach potential relationships with an open mind and a willingness to learn and grow together. Furthermore, consider the broader implications of your actions. It's not just about finding a partner who meets your personal criteria. It's also about entering into a relationship with someone who values and respects you as an individual. Remember that relationships are a two-way street, and both partners should feel valued, supported, and appreciated. Lastly, don't overlook the importance of self-awareness and personal growth. Before seeking out a partner in another country, take the time to reflect on your own values, beliefs, and priorities in life. Are you truly ready for a committed relationship? Are you prepared to navigate the challenges and complexities that come with building a partnership across cultural boundaries? So, while the idea of finding love in a distant land may seem romantic, it's essential to approach the process with thoughtfulness, respect, and humility. By taking the time to understand and appreciate cultural differences, communicate openly and honestly, manage your expectations. Consider the broader implications of your actions and focus on personal growth. You can increase your chances of finding a meaningful and fulfilling relationship, whether it's in Africa or closer to home. Thanks for listening to the OB Podcast, and I wish you all the best on your journey to finding love and connection. If you found this advice helpful, please consider sharing it with others who may benefit from it. Take care, and until next time, stay curious and open-minded.